Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the Beyond Bitcoin Show. Today is September the 20th, 2020. Strong hand, long-term thinking, personal responsibility is the new counterculture. Fitting in is overrated. Conviction, offended by selling. What does this shirt say? You can get these shirts below, baby. This is from Salt Girl. She really provided me with some great ones. It says, pound that like button. That's what you should do, everyone. Remember, TechBalt on Twitter. I've been away from Twitter for 2 days. It was Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah just ended a few hours ago here on the East Coast of the United States of America. Actually, it's 2 a.m, so it was more than a few hours ago. It was quite a memorable Rosh Hashanah, to say the least, and we'll get into that news in a second. Subscribe to the channel and watch This Week in Bitcoin. It was great. There was a show on Saturday because it was taped. I taped it on Thursday. I interviewed Ray, who is from Baltimore, who has a unique story. He's blind and he's a Bitcoin guy. And just, I bring you a unique guest, and you will not hear that story anywhere else. So I'm really proud of that show. And some of the people out there, the 20%ers who watch this channel, really appreciated this show. Ray is a good guy. Ray is a real man of Bitcoin. And just watch Saturday's show. It's linked to below. Okay, so let's get into what happened this weekend. I think it will come to no. It won't be a surprise to anyone if you've been watching the shows lately. Starting on Tuesday. On Tuesday, I got back from Asheville to Baltimore for the high holidays, and right when I got back to the house, my family's house. My mom was not there, but she had to go to my grandmother's because my grandmother had major brain bleeding suddenly out of the blue. I mean, I spoke to my grandma last Friday, and she's 97, or she was 97 years old. She did die on Friday, not on Saturday. It was Friday night. So Saturday at 2 a.m, my grandmother passed away at the hospital with my mother, and my sister were with her, and obviously it was on Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah started Friday night, so yeah. So her yurt site every year will be on Rosh Hashanah. So I'll definitely be in shul for her yurt site every single year, no doubt about that one. And so will a lot of Jewish people. So that was very sad, obviously, and it was a roller coaster ride starting Tuesday night. And I mean, I'm not going to get into everything right now. But it's 22 months between the death of my father and my grandmother. And so this is very hard on my mother, obviously. And this is the Beyond Bitcoin show. So if you've got questions, you can ask me about this stuff. You can ask me about Ben Shapiro, RBG, any of the wackiness that's been going on lately, because this is Beyond Bitcoin. We'll get back to Bitcoin on another day, but I'll talk about some Bitcoin too if you want to talk about Bitcoin. I mean, I have not been following Bitcoin that close these last few days. Well, definitely not during Rosh Hashanah at all. But since I've been back in Baltimore, I mean, I didn't know it had gotten to $11,000 as soon as I would have usually. But don't worry, 5-digit realm, dude. 5 digit, come on, it's all one day closer to an all-time high. So yes, this is difficult for my mother, and it's very sad. My grandmother did live 97 years, but as you know, she almost died in the beginning of 2019. And so it was a miraculous recovery what happened then. And we really wanted that to happen again. And it did not happen. And she tried her best, but not this time around. It didn't work out. But, it happens to all of us eventually. So I did want to say, though, again, and so we're I think this is a lot different than when my father passed away, because that was well, one thing that's similar is like when my dad died, I also had just come back from a trip. It's very strange. So the funeral, I'm not in Baltimore very often, and so just the funeral, my grandmother's funeral is going to be on Tuesday morning, and so I don't have to come in for a funeral. That's that's what this is all amounted to. When these things happen, when I arrive, someone dies twice now. Uh, and the thumbnail I use for this show is a flashback to about a year ago. Well, when I was in Australia, I talked about how my father got me my tallis, a Jewish prayer shawl, when I was 13. And I still have the same tallis. And I actually have his tallis also. And there is a beautiful picture I found today. We were searching pictures for of my grandmother. And that I put it as the thumbnail. My dad and I it was before my bar mitzvah, but the photographer took pictures of us with our taluses on, and it's very, very religious looking picture, very nice, as a father and son should be. It's a very, people don't have fathers these days, and this photo really embodies, a father like teaching his son almost. Now, again, we were posing for a picture and everything, but it's a great way to remember my dad, and he appreciated that kind of stuff. He wanted me to learn about the Jewish ways and everything, and was very proud of my bar mitzvah. And I love that. I mean, maybe you'll get to. So there's a picture of me. I'm 13 years old in that picture, and my dad is however old he was in that picture. So I like it. Okay, so let's go to. So also on Friday night, well, before my grandmother died on Saturday morning, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is also Jewish. I don't know if she died on Rosh Hashanah or right before Rosh Hashanah started. I don't know the exact time she died. She died in Washington, D.C., correct? Rosh Hashanah started Friday night at, 6:30? I don't know if she died after 6:30 or before 6:30. It really doesn't matter. The point is that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did die on Friday night. And CNN was going crazy, like a huge headline CNN had, I saw. And I do wonder if Trump knew she was. Well, we all knew she was sick for a long time. She lasted a really long time considering her condition. And Trump, I think it was last week, started talking about his possible nominees for the Supreme Court again, which was odd. So I do wonder if word had gotten out beforehand that she was deathly ill at this point. But she did die, so Trump will get to nominate the next, if he so wishes, to nominate the next person for the Supreme Court. And it's pretty obvious now if you read social media, and we're going to get into this in a second, that this might be the third event of 2020 that I was talking about. We've had the social unrest, we've had the virus, and now maybe this is the third thing. I knew there'd be a third thing. This was a pretty obvious one because Carl Denninger for quite some time has been predicting that she wouldn't make it to the next election. I don't think he thought she'd make it into 2020 actually, but I mean she did. I didn't think she'd make it in 2020, but she's very impressive. I would love to know what she did. I think a lot of other people that are suffering from cancer would like to know what prolonged her life so long. But she is deceased now, and so we move on. And the SJWs are going crazy. See, I mean, it's one Supreme Court justice, okay? They just pedestal this woman, pedestal the position, and the CNN plays into it. Of course, CNN is going to pedestal her. I mean, they want this to be a huge story. They want people to watch and everything. They want people to go crazy. There's no point to go crazy over this, but people are already going crazy over this. And so Hope said, BitcoinMeister, sad news about your grandmother. Yeah, it's quite sad. It's quite sad indeed. But thank you for saying it was sad. We're handling it. And it's unfortunate this happens during this virus situation because there's all these rules about the funeral home. It's some ridiculous stuff going on. My grandmother wasn't big for big productions though, so it's not going to hinder things that much. If this would have happened with my father, if they would have had restrictions like this during my father, things would have been different. A lot different. A lot different. Okay. Now, also, when I was at synagogue and I told the rabbi about the situation, he immediately said that I should say the Kaddish for my grandmother, the mourner's Kaddish, which was really a shock to my system because that was something I did for 11 months for my father, and I didn't really count on doing it again until my father's Yortzeit, which is actually during Thanksgiving, or the Saturday after Thanksgiving. So it was just I just had to do it again. He's like, do it for your grandmother, do it for your grandmother, and it came back to me naturally. But it definitely was. I really can't. You don't know what I mean unless you've been through it before. If you just all of a sudden have to do it again. Now, it is not in the Jewish tradition. It's the son who is supposed to do it for the parent who dies. Now, obviously, this is not my parent. My grandmother's son, my uncle, is deceased. My mother's brother is deceased. So then it would go to the son-in-law. Well, the son-in-law is my father. He is deceased. So then it goes to my cousins. I do have 2 male cousins. I'm giving you too much information, I guess. And then if they didn't do it, it would go to me to do it. So the rabbi just said to do it, so someone would do it. So someone would be doing it just right away. He wanted someone to be doing it right away. But so I will tell you this, guys. Whenever I'm in synagogue, I will definitely say the Kaddish for my grandmother. We'll leave it at that, I guess. But it's strange to be, thinking about that again. And all right, so let's go to this story from CNN. Flights to nowhere. Qantas in Australia. People are booking flights to nowhere. They're just paying to Qantas to fly around Australia and then just to go back. What? I think that's so CUCK, man. They can't travel anywhere out of the country, so they're like, oh, let's go on joyrides and see scenery. If they could do that, they could take them out of the darn country. Or they could fly. I mean, it's why pay for that stuff, dudes? Why pay? Make a production, like, be free. Like, you're playing into the game there. You're playing into the government's game. All right. I mean, at least here, we still have domestic travel here. I think in Australia they still have domestic travel. It's probably not as much as it was. I mean, the state of Melbourne is ridiculous. And so my flight, I mentioned this already. I flew. The flights were smaller planes from Asheville to Charlotte to Baltimore, but one was 100% booked. The other one was about 2/3 filled. And the airports, whatever. Asheville's got such a small little airport. I mean, I'm not scared at all. You can get some good deals if you're not scared, dudes. Bill Ottman is the guy that's in charge of mines. And yes, I'm BitcoinMeister over there. Or wait, when am I over there? Hang on a second. It's linked to below. Yeah, I'm BitcoinMeister over there. And I do check it. I do post over there. I post these videos over there. And yes, Silent Lamb. That is me reading the Bible, I believe, in the thumbnail. That is 13-year-old Adam Meister with his father. And look I love this shirt, man. She makes some nice shirts. Now it's not fully long sleeve. It's hipster long sleeve or something. Okay. So and I got my hair cut. And what I did on Wednesday, so Tuesday I land and I'm up till 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning with various family members trying to figure out, my grandmother's in very bad shape at the hospital. So I had to wake up. I had to go to the dentist on Wednesday. It was great. And I'm going to talk about the dentist. Remember, you can play this at 2x, people. You're watching this tape to skip around if you don't want to hear this. But there's some good stuff coming up. Ben Shapiro type of stuff. So yeah, my haircut turned out real nice. And I also visited all the graves of my family members. I prayed intensely at the grave, well, pretty intensely, for my grandmother at the grave of her husband, my grandfather, and at my father's grave, her son-in-law. I prayed at one of her sister's graves, and then many other graves of my other grandparents and some of their siblings and such. Okay. And people are gonna, did the prayer, did it work, Adam? Well, there was some interesting stuff that happened. There was some good stuff that happened. She died though, which is very sad. But she one of the things my grandmother was like really did not want to happen. She did not want to die, and then my mother to be there alone with her. And as I said, I've said before, I've made it pretty clear I have a number of siblings. I'm not going to say how many siblings I have, but I have at least one of each sex, right? So my sister was with my mother, and so my grandmother knew my sister was there. She knew my sister was there, and they did. My mother and my sister saw my grandmother breathe her last breath. They saw it happen. They physically. I mean, that must be something to see a loved one die right in front of your face like that. And it was intense for them, to say the least. Oh God. So moving on. But my mother was not alone. My grandmother cared so much about my mother. She just wanted my mother to be happy. She just wanted my mother to be happy, and she. My mother to go on. And that was, when my grandmother almost died less than 2 months after my father died. She couldn't believe that she was about to die. She said aloud, she couldn't believe it. She's like, why would God do this to my mother, to take her and my father within 2 months of each other? But that's when she pulled out that miracle and didn't die, and did not die. But this time there was no miracle. But again, at least it was 22. We got 22 months of my grandmother after my father, and 20 months after her near-death experience. So every moment counts, people. Every minute counts, and I wish we had more. I wish we had 22 more months of my grandmother. So you got to make the most of it. And something she used to say was, "It goes by so fast." She said, "It goes by so fast." She says, "I remember when I was just holding you as a baby, and now you got your YouTube show." Oh, and by the way, my grandmother, she knew how many Bitcoin I had. She knew how much it was worth in terms of fiat at one time. Definitely. So there's another person who took it to the grave with them. My father knew, and she knew. So there are not many people who know what I got in my stash. I'm not going to say the other people. Very, very, very few. Now there's one fewer out there. So, what do we go to? So yes, my grandmother used to say how things went by so fast. So Bill Ottman, in charge of mines, he said, and most of you are watching this tape, so please play this at 2x, and please fast forward through some of the stuff if you don't want to hear it. But it's late at night. Not that many people are watching right now at 2:30 in the morning. Oh man, yeah, Bill Ottman, and I reposted this. What did he say here? There comes a point when you have to choose between access to all information, including misinformation, and no information. What we are seeing with virus censorship on social media crystallizes this. Once you start censoring potential misinformation, you can't stop, or you are a hypocrite. The only other principled option is to take the First Amendment approach. So that's what Minds does. They're not censoring this stuff. I mean, he's got a valid point. Like, you're a social media platform. You're like, okay, this is misinformation. We're taking it down. Well, then someone says, well, that's misinformation. So then what are you going to do? If you don't take it down, you're a complete hypocrite. Now, sometimes They don't take it down. So they are complete. They are complete hypocrites because they're not really taking down misinformation. They're taking down stuff they don't like. He's not. Now, I'm going to link to all this below eventually. I haven't linked to anything below just because it's late at night and you can find this stuff on your own if you want to. So with Donald Trump, the next Supreme Court justice could very well be born in the 1970s, which means she could still be on the Supreme Court in the 2060s. Yes, think about that, people. In the 2060s. So this is, in terms of a long-lasting impact on the Supreme Court, this will have a long-lasting impact. Now, how much you value the Supreme Court, don't put it on a pedestal, but there's no doubt about it. If you pick somebody born in the 1970s, the person's going to be around until the 2060s, possibly. Oh, so live your lives, people. By the way, live it, because it does go by fast. It goes, and this whole situation, it reminds me my grandmother passing away, and thinking about how she would always say it goes by fast. It goes by fast. And I know we're one day closer to an all-time high. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to rush it. I don't want to rush a lot of things. And I'm definitely going to prioritize some things a little bit differently, kind of rearrange things, certain aspects of my life, and just try to, you were going to talk about Yaron Brook and objectivists. I mean, and he's definitely had an influence on my life. Just, you want to be happy all the time. You don't want to be doing anything that's not making you happy, that you're just doing it out of habit. Okay. Now, I do talk about systems, and systems rely on habits a lot. But it shouldn't be a blind. It should be something that makes you happy. Okay. And you can switch up your system a bit if you're not happy. And if you're totally unhappy with it, then that's not the system for you, okay? So one thing that Yaron Brook, in a video that I'm going to link to below about risk, he says a risk-free world is a thought-free world. All right? Think about that for a second. If there was no risk, you wouldn't have to think, okay? Because you have to judge anything you get into, there's a risk. So you have to think, how risky is this? How do I avoid failure with this? Okay, with any investment, there's a certain risk, and you have to think: is this the time for me to get into this investment? With Bitcoin, I mean, there's risk with Bitcoin. If you're flat out starving or something, and you buy your Bitcoin, well, you better be able to switch that Bitcoin back to buy food. You know what I'm talking about here, okay? And what I'm getting at is that collectivism is all about group safety on a certain level, okay? To take care of everyone else, to get rid of people worrying about risk, to get rid of thinking, okay? Collectivism wants to Big Brother takes care of you. You don't think as an individual. There shouldn't be risk. It should be perfect. And so you don't end up thinking in a collectivist world. So risk is a good thing. Risk challenges you and makes you think. Risk does not equal death. Okay. So always evaluate risk. And we're living in this time with this virus where everyone is just spazzed out and they can't evaluate the risk on their own. So they want the government to take care of it and get rid of all risk so they don't have to think about it. They hand off their thinking to the government, and there will be if the government will make the decision, then there will be no risk anymore. Sickening. And I want to say that Carl Denninger at market-ticker.org, and I'll link to it eventually, has a good take on the RBG situation. Should you go to a doctor's office during the virus? Was a headline on Bloomberg that was on Twitter. So that they're scaring people. People are still scared that they don't want to go to the doctor. I mean, here's a person that fears going to the dentist. I really need to go to the dentist, but I'm still unsure. Dudes, you're insane. You're insane. It's not, if you're sick, If you're really sick, go to the freaking doctor, dudes. All right. Well, first of all, most doctors are horrible, but I mean, there's certain people you need to go to the doctor. All right. I went to the dentist. It was time for a checkup, man. It was since Passover of 2019. I hadn't gone. Okay. I was supposed to go in Passover of 2020, but of course, everything was shut down then. So I was at the dentist. It was fine. Now they were paranoid at the dentist. They wouldn't let people stand near each other. I wasn't scared at all. Whatever. It's a joke. I mean, they put iodine in my mouth. They gargle with iodine. Okay, yeah, that's gonna save you guys. Whatever, dudes. But they still have these scare headlines. Should you be scared to go to the doctor? No, you shouldn't be scared to go to the doctor, dude. If you're sick, if your teeth are falling out, you better go to the darn dentist, okay? This person's wondering if they go to the dentist. So people are going to get sicker because they're scared of a sickness that they're not going to get, that wouldn't make them sick. You see, it's totally illogical. They're not evaluating the risk at all. They're just letting CNN evaluate the risk. And then they end up with their teeth falling out. So, I mean, is Adam Meister like the super rebel of 2020? And do I represent the super? Because I've been on planes, I've been to the dentist, I've rented cars, I've gone to religious services. So yeah, at there, I would say there was like a seventh of the normal amount of people at synagogue. Okay, for Rosh Hashanah. So like, that's pretty bad. It could be better. So, I mean, that many people are scared. Now, of course, you do have to understand the synagogue usually trends older anyway. So you think more people were older, but I mean, synagogue was great. The people who showed up weren't scared. I'll tell you that. But and they had the chairs spread out. The rabbi had to follow the rules and everything. But I'll tell you what, my rabbi's not. He's not scared. He's not scared of this. But I mean, am I? I've done like all the things that CNN scares people about. I've been on planes, been to the dentist, rented. I don't know if do they scare people about renting cars because a car can be dirty on the inside or something. Okay, maybe I'm pushing that one. But religious services, oh no, they don't want. Of course, so many people out there are so happy that religious services are shut down and people can't do their religious services properly anymore. I'm quite pleased that I went through it, and I will be there on Yom Kippur. And when I'm in Salt Lake City, I plan to go quite often, also as often as I can on Saturdays. And yeah, and I guess I'll be saying Kaddish for my grandmother when I'm there. I will be. Not I guess. I will be saying it when I'm there. And I mean, I'll tell you what. If I was in Israel now, or if I was in LA, or if things were normal now in LA or Israel, I would go to synagogue much more often. I mean, I would try, yeah. Because in Israel, it's so easy. You go in the middle of the day. It's pretty easy to get it if you're staying nearby. I mean, I had it down. I had the routine down real well there for my father for saying Kaddish. It's an interesting situation. I'm not an expert on the situation when grandmothers die without their sons or son-in-laws, and what really is and then I mean it does fall. I believe it then falls upon my cousins, and it's very 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 interesting. Very interesting situation. It's just me thinking aloud about it. But I will definitely do it as much as I can. Now, what do we have? Ben Shapiro. All right, we're getting back into the Supreme Court thing. Ben Shapiro has a great tweet. So he was gone during Rosh Hashanah like I was. So he comes back from Rosh Hashanah, has to find out about this stuff, about the simple fact that some Democrats seem to be threatening to pack the court in retaliation for simple fulfillment of the constitutional process is why Trump and McConnell should move forward. Threats to destroy institutions should not be humored with concessions. That point right there is awesome. Okay. Threats to destroy institutions should not be humored with concessions. You should not be blackmailed into anything, people. All right. So what's going on now is all these SJWs are spazzing out. How dare Donald Trump do what he's supposed to do and nominate the next Supreme Court justice? So if he does that, when we're in power, we're going to pack the Supreme Court. We're going to put more than 9 justices on there. But they're threatening. They're saying, don't do what you're supposed to do, or we're going to do this. All right. He should say, he should put up his middle finger and just do it. You're not to be blackmailed. So here's some tweets. RBG has been dead for less than an hour, and Democrats are already threatening RIOTS. Can't say that word. And he's right. This Reza Aslan, who used to be a CNN guy or something, if they even try to replace RBG, we burn the entire effing thing down. He used the whole F word there. I mean, guys, calm down. You want to destroy private property over RBG? Over politics? What worshipers? I mean, what worshipers? Burn it down? Now, of course, that will. Now, and as this Razlan guy, is he going to be the one burning? No, he's trying to inspire all these mindless robots to go out there and do it, which it seems like people have been pretty successful at doing lately, because people are unemployed. They get people riled up about race-based stuff, and then people do insane things. So, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they. If as the election gets closer, this is going to become a major issue, and they rile people up. Law is law, okay? He's following the law. He's not doing anything illegal. I mean, these people are babies. Like, they don't get their way and they throw a hissy fit. That's what the world has become, okay? I mean, because they value their wealth, so they live their lives vicariously through these lame-o politicians. And yes, Trump should go balls to the walls with this and fire up his base and use this to get people to vote for him. Okay, don't be scared, dude, because if you don't stick to your whatever principles you may have, and I don't think he has many principles, but I mean, one of his big things is like, I nominate conservative Supreme Court justices. Okay, then do it. Then do it. Don't get blackmailed. Don't fight back against their threats. Pick the youngest possible person. I mean, the woman Amy Coney Barrett is born in 1972, so that's pretty good. I mean, that's good. That'll do it. And she's already had congressional hearings, but she was appointed to a lower court, and they had to have hearings for it. All right. So she should easily pass. And if they want to be big babies about it, then they'll be big babies about it. I think it'll be entertaining. Let's see. Are there any other questions over there? Because we're going to talk about. All right. No other questions over there. Yes, the virus is a non-issue. It should be a non-issue, but if Trump loses, you'll see how much of a non-issue it is the next day. Now, and here there's something, a Reddit forum called Lockdown Skepticism, and one day after the efforts to hide the virus info went public, Nashville reopens restaurants and bars, high school sports, and allows NFL attendance. Yeah, isn't that a coincidence? People in Nashville the government of Nashville got busted for trying to hide numbers for the virus that were good numbers. that people weren't getting sick, that they basically were shutting things down for no reason. And they did hide it, but they got busted. And right after that happened, right after they got busted, now they're reopening stuff. Very interesting. Now, something that happened earlier this week that people have already forgotten about. There was a headline about the United States ambassador to South Africa. Her name is Lana Marks. And there was an article, a few articles, that there was Iran in retaliation for what the United States did to their general back in the beginning of the year. Remember when everybody was spazzing out about that? How could you kill the Iranian general? No one even remembers it now. But Iran does remember it because he was a big hero of theirs, this terrorist general of theirs. So the rumor was this week that Iran was targeting this woman for assassination, the United States ambassador to South Africa. And people were like, why the heck would the Iranians target the United States ambassador to South Africa, Lana Marks, who, and people were like, why would they try to target, because she made handbags. She's a millionaire handbag woman or something, and she's a friend of Trump. So they're saying, oh, Trump nominates his friends, maybe because she's a friend of Trump. Dudes, do you know how ambassadorships work? It's always, at least the last, in modern day administrations, they nominate their friends and people who have supported their campaigns. It's not based on any skill. You nominate your buddies to be ambassadors to like the ones to France, or in Germany and Europe. Those are ones that are like high contributors or big friends of these dudes. But Lana Marks is a friend of his, apparently. And one reason Iran would target her, they're going to want to target someone in a country that doesn't have good security. Okay. So they're not going to target someone in a European country. All right. Or probably in Japan or South Korea or anything like that. But Lana Marks, with the big elephant in the room here, what is, when you hear the words Lana Marks, do you think she's a certain religion, perhaps? Lana Marks is Jewish, okay? That's why they're targeting her. It's easy. I'm going to link to it below. But Iran, through Hezbollah, their terrorist organization, in 1994 in Buenos Aires, Argentina, they blew up a Jewish community center there. That was some sort of retaliation for something, no doubt. So yeah, there you go. Iran has people in countries like Argentina and South Africa that don't have the best security in the world, okay, that are run incompetently. They're similar. In 1994, Argentina was quite incompetent, probably similar to the incompetent, not as incompetent as South Africa is now, but probably close. So they can get away with, they can do things like that in countries like that. They can target Jews easily in countries like that. So yeah, they're targeting her. Why would they target a Jewish ambassador in South Africa? For the reason she's Jewish, and it's easy. It's easy to do. Now, the story has been forgotten. God willing, they don't do something like that. They as if they should try to fix their own darn country. How about that? Instead of targeting Americans all over the world in third world countries and developing countries. How about that? But yeah, Lana Marks. There are not that many Jewish ambassadors. That's why they're doing it, and especially in a place as easily targeted as South Africa. Here's some more San Francisco thoughts about people leaving San Francisco. It's not Silicon Valley anymore. It's technology, says Balaji. Tech is now remote first. Moving to the Bay Area is no longer necessary. And outages, fires, prices, and dysfunction are driving out the people already there. The place is less appropriate as the metonym for the concept. Now, okay, you guys will grasp this when other metonyms that may be retired. Detroit, self-driving and electric is happening outside. So back in the day, cars, if you want to be a car dude, you would say Detroit. Detroit represented car dudes. Wall Street, New York finance is becoming fintech crypto. So no, you don't have to go to be in finance now. You don't have to go to Wall Street. Hollywood, many factors pushing decentralization of film. I agree. You can make films anywhere now due to the internet, YouTube, all this stuff. Madison Avenue, that was fashion, has been cloud first for a while. So we had these, he calls them metonyms. Detroit, Wall Street, Hollywood, Madison Avenue, Silicon Valley. It isn't about those things anymore. I like that a lot. I like that technology and progress have allowed a certain level of decentralization in there to not be centralized on those aspects of those industries. Okay, so that's not good for you don't have to go to Silicon Valley anymore. You don't have to go to San Francisco anymore. That's not good for them. That's not good for them. But hey, that's good for freedom. It's awesome that you can be a tech guy and just be based in Idaho or wherever you want to be. Thanks to Mr. Internet. Okay. So speaking about people leaving California, Ben Shapiro announced that he is moving to Nashville. He's moving his whole out of Los Angeles to Nashville. A lot of people moving to Nashville, apparently. Tennessee has low taxes, or I don't think they have any state income tax. And it's the thing that Ben brings up and a lot of people bring up. It's not the poor that escape. It's the middle class and it's the wealthy that get out. They know how to manage their freaking money, okay? And that's why they remain wealthy and increase their wealth. So good. I like that Ben is making a statement. I mean, he has complained about a lot of people are like, why don't you just leave California then? Well, he's leaving freaking California. And Roman Q says, what are your thoughts on the recent Israeli-Arab peace deals? Well, I think they're the start of something. I think they're probably the start of something bigger, and that Saudi Arabia will make peace, and I think that'll be good. These countries, I mean, it's all based around Iran again. Ben Shapiro likes it because it shows the world that a lot of people try to blame the whole Middle East situation on Israel versus the Arabs in Judea and Samaria. And it doesn't boil down to that. It really doesn't. As you can see, Bahrain and United Arab Emirates, they don't care. They don't care about those. They don't. I mean, that's not their thing. They're worried about themselves. They're worried about Iran. Iran is definitely a huge player that people are scared of, and they're willing to partner with freaking Israel to help them with that threat. So those countries don't treat women well. Okay, those countries lack a lot of freedoms. The United Arab Emirates, though, if you're a tourist there, they treat you real well. And so, for me, I don't like the way United Arab Emirates treats their people. I'm not visiting Bahrain. I'm going to tell you that right now. Okay, that's out of the question. But United Arab Emirates, I mean, you got to admit, it's tempting, isn't it, to go to Dubai? So I'm still doing research. But peace is a good thing, okay? It would be great if they can all, I mean, they don't have to be the best of friends, but they have trade, they let their people go back and forth, and they try to bring more peace to the area and try to combat bad actors like Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia is no good too. I mean, they really oppress their people, okay? It's nothing. I mean, much worse than what's going on in United Arab Emirates. So it would be very interesting if Saudi Arabia makes a deal with Israel, because that might be a. I mean, they might have some social changes in Saudi Arabia if that happens. All right. Yes, thank you, UK BitcoinMeister, for your thoughts there. Thank you, thank you. All right. So I'm. I mean, I'm not. I think people should be. I think the media is downplaying it a lot because of Trump, because he made it happen. You have to give him credit on this, though. He didn't fixate on the problems within Israel. Okay? He found a common problem they could all bond over. All right? Which was Iran. And I mean, you got to say, of all the presidents that have been trying these peace deals since Jimmy Carter, even, I mean, since Nixon, I mean, since the 6-Day War in 1967, Trump's done the best. Yeah, Trump's done the best. He really has done the best. So, but you're not going to hear much about that. But it's a good thing. It's not. I think everyone blows out of proportion anything that happens over there. Okay, we really fixate so much on that region. So yeah, okay, Israel's friends with those two countries now. Great, that's great. I mean, they should all be friends. Okay, we shouldn't become obsessed with it. People just obsess over Israel so much, this little country. Now, one thing is that the Iran is no friend of the United States, so it makes sense for the United States to be concerned about Iran, because Iran has vocally been against the United States, to say the least, and the United States' interest all over the world. But I mean, I really think, to tell you the truth, you're asking about the Middle East. I think if things in Iran all of a sudden really ramped up with internal protest, they could have true freedom much sooner than Saudi Arabia. Okay? Because they were free. I mean, they were free before 1979. They were very Western before. I mean, I don't know how, but they were quite Western before 1979 in Iran. So they could quickly revert back to that. I mean, they could be really modern right away again. So I hope this just causes some type of internal rebellion in Iran. If they start hearing like, well, wait a second, other Muslim countries like Israel now? I mean, maybe that could be the most positive thing out of all of this, that it could spark an internal revolution in Iran that leads to real freedom and not a theocracy. Okay, that would be awesome. That would bring Middle East peace. I mean, and then people wouldn't be talking about Middle East anymore. And so Ben Shapiro, he does not like the lawn signs. He's like, where he goes, signs. I've mentioned it also in Asheville. I actually saw one in Baltimore, one so far in Baltimore, just one. But Ben Shapiro said this: I want a lawn sign that reads, in this house, we believe that if you post semantically overloaded left-wing tautologies on your lawn to signal your unearned moral superiority, you are a douchebag. So yeah, that is a very good point there. He basically explains what those people are doing. And yeah, it's a lot of virtue signaling going on out there. Now, we live in a world today where so many people call people they don't like the NAZ word. What the enemies of the United States were during World War II, the vicious murderers of World War II. They were National Socialists, NAZI, those people. Anyway, they were horrible people, but people love to call other people that name. And here's maybe a reason why, because people don't know who they were. People don't understand what those horrible people did, what that ideology was all about. The findings of a study of young Americans' knowledge of the Holocaust are terrifying. 23% say it's a myth / exaggerated. 10% don't think it happened. 12% never heard of it. 11% think Jews were responsible. And 63% are unaware that 6 million Jews were killed. So, yeah, 63% of Americans surveyed here are unaware that 6 million Jews were killed by those people, the NAZs, in back then. And so, yeah, if you don't understand what the heck happened, of course you'll call people that. You'll call Trump that. You'll call anyone you dislike that name. What those people did was the worst atrocity of all time. I mean, and so it's a shit. I mean, it's no surprise. It's no surprise that most people do not know history. Most people do not learn from history. Most people hear a term and they just blindly repeat it and don't know really what a harsh term that is to call someone that. They were horrible ideology that did in horrific atrocities. But this is it's no as time goes by, people forget. You know, we say never forget. They forget. I realized, I don't know when I realized it. I guess when the internet, well, I guess when social media started really growing a lot, I knew one day that people would forget what happened during World War II and would say, "Oh no, it really didn't happen, and it wasn't that bad," and maybe it was their fault or something. But so yeah, we're living that reality now, and it's unfortunate. It's very, very unfortunate because it leads to no one knows what an NAZ is, so you know people are going crazy thinking, you know, they know it's a bad word, they did bad things, whoever they are, and let's just call everyone it and attack them. And yeah, ignorance just leads to confusion and massive whatever's going on out there now. So New York Post has an article, New Jersey to impose millionaires tax on residents earning 1 million and up. It's a disgrace. They're already starting to pick on the wealthy. Wealth taxes coming soon. Exit taxes coming soon. These states are going to pay a heavy price. But I mean, they pick their poison. They shut down their entire economies. Now they need money. Then again, if Biden becomes president, or maybe even if Trump stays president, they're all going to get bailed out. That's why you should be buying Bitcoin, because the money printer is going to go brrr. But the rich they're easily scapegoated, man. And the middle class are easily, you're wrong because you're rich. You're bad because you're rich. Dude, I keep on shaking this. I'm sorry. I have this on a very unsturdy. Look at that shirt. Look at that hair. All right. Ooh, it's been 53 minutes. Got to wrap this thing up soon. And there was an announcement earlier this week about I loved it. In the cloud tops of Venus, they may have detected life. All right. This should be the biggest news of the week. We should be sending probes there right now. But no. Well, while there might be aliens, little teeny aliens, little microbe aliens on Venus, we have mutants here on Earth that are just like going crazy in the streets. What a contrast between the unthinking wildings going on in the streets of the United States, the crying and screaming over RBG, the crying and screaming, the mindlessness of the Supreme Court, compared to just such a discovery, universe-changing discovery. The way we think about the whole universe could be changed. And if what we think is going on in Venus is going on in the cloud tops of Venus. It would be the biggest news in the history of mankind if they're really aliens, little microbe aliens in Venus. If there's life on, if we could prove there's life on another planet. So I mean, also earlier in the week in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, which is a small town in southern Pennsylvania, Amish country. They used to take us on field trips up to Amish country. They make lots of nice like chocolate and licorice potato chips up there. It's fun. That's why they take kids on. If you grew up in the Baltimore area, maybe even Washington and Philadelphia probably also. You go on field trips in school to Amish country up in Lancaster. Well, there was a riot up there, like over like a knife wielding crazy person. So people don't even think anymore. They're like, I mean, guys, there are crazy people out there, really bad dudes out there that actually do attack policemen and like threatening their lives. Like, what are they supposed to do? Just lay down and let the dude stab them? Are you supposed to do that? I mean, there's something called self-defense out there. And if someone is coming to kill you, I mean, you got to stop them by any means necessary. But yeah, even it's just such a contrast we have in this world. And I wish more people, I wish 80%ers were interested in science and instead of like all of this TV generated hysteria and just riling people up. People love to revert to their freaking animalistic collectivist instincts, okay? Their tribal instincts. It really gets them going. But it's such a distraction from the real news. Venus, dudes. Life on Venus. And some of you probably didn't even hear about it because CNN doesn't want to talk about that. Drudge doesn't want to talk about that. And Yaron Brook made a great point. If people accepted lockdowns like sheep, imagine if these disturbances get bigger and the violence gets a little worse, people would accept martial law and authoritarianism like sheep. They would be like, okay, yeah, we need martial law now to get rid of these disturbances. We need authoritarianism right now. People would gladly accept it because they gladly accepted lockdowns. So now is the time to be defiant. Like, put a line in the sand right now. We really should. Because it isn't. It's just, we keep going one step closer to falling down the drain of authoritarianism, okay? Yeah, but nothing wrong with martial law. We needed it. Look what they were doing in Seattle. Look what they were doing in Portland. Look what they're doing in Chicago. Just let the army take over. That's the people will accept it though. People screaming Karens will call for it. And here we go. People who bought houses. Here's a comment about them. But regret is already in the air. One survey of 1,000 mortgage holders found that most people who bought houses after March 2020 already regretted taking out a mortgage. All right, it's an attack vector. So many people still wanted to fit in during all this nonsense that they bought houses. Of course, there's going to be an incredible amount of people that are regretting it. They might have bought it in the wrong city where there are riots going on now. They might realize like, I never got my job back, or I lost my job because of these shutdowns, or my city that I bought a house in is not as economically viable as I previously thought it was, or wait a second, I bought a house and tied myself down when now I realize that like I don't have to if I want a job I can live anywhere. So yeah, real estate, I am sure there's tons of regrets, but at the same time, even with everything I just said, even with that statistic, these dollar slaves, okay, fitting in is so important to people. Still, to this very day, fitting in means buying the biggest freaking house you can. So most people are still going to do it. And they're probably going to have major regrets the second they do it, but they just have to fit in. That is why fitting in is totally overrated. And that's also why the dollar isn't going anywhere. Because people are just so ingrained in their traditional ways of fitting in. The new medical experts are trying to stay popular through fear. Okay? So these last few months, all these medical guys on Twitter and social media, they've gotten pretty big. They've been on CNN. They've gone from obscurity to not to really being well known. I mean, you didn't know these type of medical experts in the past. You weren't worried about pandemics. So going from irrelevant to popular is a powerful drug. Going back to irrelevant will not happen without a fight. Everything is drama. So think about that for a second. There are all these guys that have been the talk of the town, scaring everybody. And now, in order to stay popular, what do they do? What do you think they do? They could be modest. They could be like, okay, I've had my moment in the sun. Now I'm going to go back to being a successful doctor. Oh no, these dudes are continuing the fear. So some of these guys who were sort of right at first now are just like, they're off the deep end. They are just constantly trying to stay relevant in the news cycle. Well, how do you stay relevant in the panic prison news cycle? You come up with more and more clickbait, scary headlines. And these are legitimate researchers and doctors that are just trying to fit in and relevant. They're lying. It's sickening. But so be careful if you trusted some of these guys beforehand, these doctors that were on CNN and Fox and this, that, and the other, and they're tweeting stranger and stranger things. Well, there's a reason. They don't want to let go of this, okay? They don't want to go back to being irrelevant. There's nothing wrong with being freaking irrelevant, dudes. You're freaking doctors. You should love what you're doing. You shouldn't. Why do you want to be media stars? I guess everybody wants to be a media star this day. We've talked about institutional racism before. Yeah, and then a few weeks ago, there was a woman at a university. I forgot which one. She was a white woman. She'd been pretending to be black for quite some time. And she'd gotten quite a lot out of it. So it's very interesting. There's definitely some benefits to being black if white women are pretending to be black. In certain institutions, it's pretty clear. She did better as a black woman than she would have done as a white woman. Oh man, this group ID stuff, just be a unique beast, okay? But if people want to play that game about institutional racism, I mean, you point out that, like, well maybe the incident, and I pointed this out before, like, in the government, the institutional racism is affirmative action. Affirmative action discriminates against white people. This shouldn't exist at all. It shouldn't be a freaking race battle at all. That's what critical race theory is. Everything is a race battle. It's not about individuals competing and trying to make this world a better place and trying to be successful. It's about what race controls the power. So silly. But it's becoming more and more popular. And but it is it's very interesting that a white woman can pretend to be black and do. And then, of course, she admitted she was going to get outed, so she wouldn't everybody think she was a victim of some victimized tuckless. She's trying to use that for more attention. These people have no shame. They'll lie about what race they are. They're totally liars, and they're like, "Oh, I was a liar. Feel bad for me. Please, I want to stay popular. I want attention. It's all about, we've talked about the attention economy before, and I've said it's good to have a place on social media. Okay, it's good to have a YouTube channel. It's good to have a Twitter account. It's good to put yourself out there, but don't lie and cheat and steal just to get freaking attention and use it as a freaking drug that you're going to do, that you're addicted to, that you're willing to do anything for. Pretend what race you are. I mean, this is insane. And I've talked about this World Economic Forum last week, but I mean, they've got a podcast, the Great Reset podcast. Greed is dead. And then I found out about this through them. Nearly 3 in 4 adults plan to get a virus vaccine, the survey showed. So I mean, they're promoting that, the WEF, the World Economic Forum. 3 in 4 adults plan to get a virus vaccine. We'll see. I definitely don't. They want them to. Now, an untested freaking vaccine. Unbelievable. This World Economic Forum is sickening. What they promote, the worst fear-mongering and SJW nonsense, these people have so much time on their hands. Like, what a world of comfort we live in when they worry about such nonsense. They make up things to worry about. Income inequality, all this stuff. Inequality of the sexes. Why aren't women getting good jobs? I mean, it's nonsense. Just be an individual. Judge a person on the individual accomplishments. What has happened to individualism? Well, it is the accomplishment. The default is collectivism, and World Economic Forum is a freaking collectivist nonsense organization. Summer air travel down nearly 76% from a year ago. Dudes, make the most of it. The government is subsidizing it, by the way, because the government bailed out all the airlines. So the prices remain quite low. So take advantage of it. Go somewhere in the United States. If you're I'm talking to Americans. I'm about to go to Salt Lake City on the 29th of November. NFL ratings dropped double digits in the season opener. I don't know if this week they dropped again. It's not a surprise. People were booing in Kansas City last week, I heard. And going back to the vaccine real quick, AstraZeneca said they had to put the study on hold due to suspected adverse reaction in participants. Yeah, don't be surprised. There's going to be more adverse reactions in participants. Hey, but people want it. People want a vaccine for something that doesn't even kill them. Make them feel safe again. Anyway, make your own mind, guys. There is risk in life, okay? Be a good judge of your own risk. Try to understand statistics. Pound that like button like the shirt says. All right, so I'm going to go to sleep. It's definitely been a long, unexpected weekend. But it does, as my grandmother said, it goes by fast, dudes. It goes by fast. Just keep that in mind so you treasure every moment. And you are constantly reevaluating. Like, am I doing the right thing right now? Am I totally happy doing this thing right now? Should I change my system a little bit right now? All right, dudes. I'm Adam Meister, BitcoinMeister, this Shapiro. I do want to say one last thing. I did get to call as you guys all know, I call my grandmother every Friday, and so that's over now. I've called her every Friday during the school year since college, and then before that, in high school, I would go to her house every Friday. So this Friday, when she was in the hospital and was basically totally incapacitated, and really couldn't speak, and it was confusing to my mother and my sister if my grandmother was even understanding anything. She was in horrible shape. She couldn't open her eyes. And I called and I said to Mom, let me talk to her. And they put up the phone to her ear. And I said it was me. I said, it's Adam. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, she spoke. She said a few sentences. She said, it's Adam. She said something like, it's okay. All is well, she said. All is well. And she looked at her watch, even though her eyes were closed. She looked at her watch. And she said my sister and my mother were in shock. They were in shock. But she hadn't spoken a sentence since Tuesday. And that was pretty awesome. I didn't understand what was going on. So it sparked something in her head. Was it just reaction, or was she really talking to me? She said sentences. It was pretty darn awesome. And my sister and my mom, we all got our hopes up too at that point too. Like, well, wait a second, maybe something's going on. But she died 12 hours later. So it was good. I got to talk to her one last time, and that was basically her last sentences. There were a little later on. She said a couple other things or something, but it was so shocking. She said my name. She definitely said my name then. So that was pretty cool. She could hear it. So that was it. My mother really, really liked that. My sister really liked that a lot. And my mom wrote up a summary to send to all her friends what happened this week. She put that story in. It's good. It makes me it'll be interesting this Friday what I do. So, all right, pound that like button. I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye bye.